Welcome to Delta Green, Impossible Landscapes, brought to you by Black Project Gaming. Get read in at blackprojectgaming.com. I'm Vince, your host and handler for this campaign. Joining me are Brett as DEA Special Agent Michael Witwer, also known as Agent Vega, Cami as FBI Special Agent Geneva Brown, also known as Agent Venus, Doug as FBI Special Agent Mark Hansom, also known as Agent Meshach, and Jack as FBI Special Agent Cassandra Troy, also known as Agent Madison. Impossible Landscapes is a campaign of wonder, horror, and conspiracy, written by Dennis Detwiller for Delta Green, the role-playing game. For more information on Delta Green, please visit delta-green.com. This podcast is intended for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised. Okay, so in our last session, the party, the group of agents, you all were descending through the cloud waves of Lake Holly, pursued by these night flyers, these strange amorphous winged creatures that seemed to have zeroed in on you and began to pursue. You all essentially used the power of will and thought and the ability to kind of exercise your will over Carcosa, where you now found yourselves, to will these boats down faster and faster, to the point where it was very likely, you may have ended up scattering your boat and yourselves across the cobblestones beneath, as you realized that not only were you not descending to a bottom of a lake, you were descending onto the streets of a mirror city to the one above, only this one was still intact. Thankfully, however, you were able to slow your descent enough, I believe, at the very last minute and land somewhat the worse for wear, but you now found yourselves in the city of Yatil. And at that point, you began kind of navigating your way through the palace, a constant presence, and a constant sight as you navigated through the war-torn cities, the war-torn streets of the city. There was a number of encounters. You had to kind of make your way through a number of apartment buildings to circumvent some of the various obstacles that have been placed or resulted from debris and destruction in the city itself. You explored an abandoned apartment where, on your way though, you learned, I believe Michael actually learned how to read and speak to an extent, or at least understand Tartesian, the language of Carcosa. There was some psychic feedback for some of you as you attempted to learn the language, specifically Cassie, and it just proved too much for your mind to handle at the moment. But Michael was able to successfully learn it. And so you explored this abandoned apartment. You met an executed family in their apartment, a father, a mother, and a child with pillowcases blood-stained over their heads and signs of violence that were still up and moving like nothing was wrong, who recommended you seek out the anarchist in another building, who you then met as you continued your journey through the city streets, and who told you about the masquerade, gave you a bomb, and I believe told you to seek out Ambrose in the clockwork factory on the other side of the war zone. Once you got out of there, you made your way through the aforementioned war zone, and it was there that you saw a dying man in the street. You saw a group of what you surmised to be German soldiers leading a group of essentially teenagers to be executed and hanged in the street. You actually engaged those German soldiers and opened fire and killed their leader, which caused some confusion among the remaining troops, which gave you time to make your escape, while their intended victims were also able to get out of there. Afterwards, as you continued journeying through, you ran into those would-be victims again, and they kind of brought you into a basement of a nearby residence where you met residents of the city in hiding. And while the language barrier proved to be slightly difficult, you were able to essentially negotiate Mark through also providing a very valuable heirloom, a very sentimental item, your watch, to an old man, and who seemed to approve of the offer. And you all were led through these sewers and tunnels to the tractor factory, where you had to make your way across this battlefield riddled with gunfire and artillery and bodies and burnt out tanks and just absolute hell on earth. And again, kind of tapping into that will and that ability to exert some sort of influence over Carcosa, you all attempted to make your way across into and through the tractor factory. Mark did have some difficulty, but eventually you all were able to get to the other side, and you step into the tractor factory only to find yourselves now in this silent city that seems to be untouched by the war through which you crawled and dragged yourselves through to come out the other side. The sounds of gunfire have faded. It's a much different sight and a much different setting from what you just endured. The palace, of course, continues to hang over this area like a giant, all-seeing eye. 3 buildings in particular stand out. One of them, of course, is the palace. The other 2 are this clockwork factory and another building, the purpose of which is unknown at this point, but they kind of loom over everything else. And I think that is where we will pick up, unless anybody has any questions.
So just to clarify, there's a tractor factory and a clockwork factory.
Correct.
They're separate things?
They are. So the tractor factory is what you made your way through. That was like your ultimate objective, to get through the city to this new area, to this new section of Yatil.
Right. But then once we got to the tractor factory, we go inside and we find ourselves looking at the palace and the clockwork factory, but not the tractor factory.
Right. Yeah, it was strange. It was like you don't remember making your way through the building, making your way through this other factory. It's almost as if you blink and you can see the building behind you, but you don't recall making your way through it. Or
we can see the tractor factory behind us?
You can.
Oh, okay. All right.
You can indeed.
Okay. I think I got pretty confused last time about the tractor factory versus the clockwork factory, sometimes thinking they were the same.
Sure. No, that's totally understandable.
But okay. And so, I wrote down in my notes, I assume it was said that the third building is called the gallery?
It is a gallery, yes.
Okay. All right. It looks like a gallery.
It does.
All right, cool.
These are the 3. I mean, obviously the palace, but the other 2 are the most prominent buildings at this point. They're the ones that your eyes are immediately drawn to. Different architecture, different height. They are obviously separate from the rest of the buildings around it.
And there's also the clockwork factory is next to a pier.
It is. Yep. It's built on a pier that juts out over a lake, and it looks almost like this 19th century boardwalk mall with peeling white and red paint. And really it dwarfs all the surrounding buildings. Make an alertness roll, whoever is interested.
Yeah, I think
I'm interested.
Mark is looking around his surroundings, trying to figure all this out.
Sure.
Given that Mark had such a hard time last time wrapping his head around the crazy, which resulted in him being stuck in the middle of a battlefield. Right.
Yeah. That proved to be, logic still proved to be somewhat of an obstacle for you, but eventually you were able to push your way through it with the assistance of the other agents who themselves have kind of surrendered to this strange dream logic of Carcosa. But with those alertness rolls, we've got Cassie with a 73 out of 63. Unfortunately, that's a failure. We've got Geneva with a 47 out of 86, and we've got Mark with a 12 out of 76. The 2 of you notice that on this factory, on the roof is this strange contraption that's probably the size, it's got to be the size of a small house. It's visible at a great distance. It looks part mechanical merry-go-round with painted wooden horses and part orrery, these metal spheres on metal tracks. Bronze faces peer out from the four sides of the device, and even from down here, you can see steam rising from the mouths. And Michael, with that 72 out of 82, you see the same as well.
I'll say that Cassie's miss is probably due to the fact that we're so close to the palace. She's kind of looking at the towers, almost as if like sort of like an Eye of Sauron moment, as if it's looking back at her, and she's just sort of having a bit of a stare down with it.
Absolutely, it's almost this feeling that you are now so close to revelation, to the end, is just all consuming, and you can feel that adrenaline, you can feel that knot in your stomach, you can feel excitement and anticipation and fear all commingling into this chemical cocktail. It's just it's all you can think about and all you can focus on. Yeah,
it's so interesting to think about like how a person would react to this level of constant inundation with the insane, like just crazy, like huge scope, completely out of your normal experience. Like, would you still be awed by it, or would you eventually just get kind of like shell shocked?
Well, where's your sanity at?
That's a good point.
Yeah, mine's pretty good.
Is it?
It's 52.
Not bad. Okay, not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that like big dump that we got back for getting here, did me really well, and I've been doing pretty good on the roll. So
awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I think the only way I can really connect with it from my own experiences, which is, I guess, you know, how I try to relate to this thing, is through the concept of dreams. And the weird thing I find is that a lot of times when I have dreams, these things almost seem intuitively obvious to me when I'm in the dream. I mean, outside of the dream, obviously you're like, wow, that was a crazy dream. But inside the dream, you're just like, oh yeah, no, this is how things work now. At least for me. I don't know if other people have similar kinds of dreams, but you know, dreams of flying and I mean, I've had some dreams that maybe aren't quite as out there as this, but rival this in terms of a really weird narrative.
Yeah,
I think
that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's the whole dream logic of like a nightmare being still real despite its like fantastical nature. So like if you think that you're flying in a dream, it's real. But if you're being chased by something and you're scared of it, you're not scared of the dream itself. You're scared of the thing that's chasing you, because that's your reality in the moment.
Right. So what do we do, agents?
Well, I want to take a closer look at that part of the building that you mentioned earlier. There was steam coming out of it?
Yeah, it's out of these bronze faces that are kind of on the four sides of the device, but this thing is all the way up on the roof of the factory.
Is it possible to take a closer look, like just a more detailed look from here, or have we seen as much as we can see from here?
You've seen probably as much as you're going to be able to see from down here. You would really have to get up there to get a closer look at what exactly this thing is or how it functions.
I mean, it's bronze faces. Does it look like a clock?
Almost, yeah. It's like it's part like merry-go-round carousel and part orrery. You know, like this mechanical model of the solar system. You know, these things that kind of spin and rotate around one another. It's very mechanical, very clockwork, like everything else that you've encountered up to this point.
Yeah, like the old like the old European clocks where they have very detailed, and many other things we've seen here have been similar to that. And
exactly, yeah, very timeless, but very also anachronistic to an extent. Yeah,
there's like a big. If you ever go to Prague, kind of by where the main train station is, in the center of the town, there's like this gigantic clock, and at certain times of the day, it has like doors open and like little mechanical figures come out and do this little like circuit and go back in as the clock is going on, and it just kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah. Yeah, we so going back to one of the places where we saw something closest to this was the clockwork monstrosity in Barbas's house.
Correct.
Yeah.
What I mean, are there obviously there are similarities, but are we seeing the same things? I don't remember brass faces in that thing. I'm just
no, yeah. The monstrosity, the diorama in Barbas's house was more of like a scene, like a specific scene. It was like a play in which you saw yourselves being chased through multiple iterations of the city by the gas masked men. So different function, and definitely not even a fraction as big as the thing that you're now seeing up there. You're talking, one was like the size of roughly like a pool table, I believe, and this thing is about as big as a small house.
Who's the guy who we found the what was it, like the blueprint for, or like the diagram for? Was it Linst? JB Linst?
No, are you talking about the mechanical blueprint?
Yeah.
That was the lion and the scribe.
Okay.
And that had been on the wall of Abigail's apartment.
Got it.
The lion, which is what you saw in, I think you saw both the lion and the scribe.
Yeah. It was on the paper, the napkins.
Correct. And both ended up being in Barbas's house.
Yeah. But it all just looks like similarly, like of the same make, like the same.
Right.
Got it. Okay, cool.
Right. What's Geneva up to? What is she doing?
I mean, honestly, I think she's still in very much this headspace of just like getting to the next place. So once we've kind of like scoped it out, I mean, she knows we have to get to a pier, so she's looking for the quickest and safest route to head in that direction.
Okay, perfect. Do you all follow?
Yeah. He goes
Definitely.
wherever she goes.
I'd say that Cassandra would be a little bit too fixated on the palace, and Mark would notice that if he starts to turn around and go with the others, that she's not coming with them.
Yeah. Mark turns around to Cassie and says, we should keep up.
It's right there.
Yeah, well, I reckon that's where we're headed. That's where the party is, isn't it?
I guess so. I guess going back means going forward, means going through.
Well, I think you understand that better than I do.
Yeah, she'll turn around finally and face you, and she'll follow.
All right.
Who has the postcard from Barbas's house?
I do.
As you approach this building and the pier, your eyes fixated on the palace. You realize that the view is the same.
Like from this horizon.
Right.
Got it. So
roll sanity.
You know it's my favorite thing to do.
Hey, 17 out of 25. Jesus, that's low. You lose nothing. But there's still this, again, this unsettling. At this point, though, probably you're used to the sensation that all of this is kind of falling into place. And
I'll take it one further and just say that, like, when she sees the postcard, she'll hold it in front of her so that if anyone is wondering what she's doing, she's like comparing the view in the postcard to the view that she has right now. But it's almost like, you get a postcard of France and you see the Eiffel Tower, and then you go to France and you're holding the postcard there and you see it, and it's just kind of the reality is there.
I think if Cassie is doing that, it would be hard for Mark not to look at the postcard and notice a similarity as well.
Yeah, if you're looking, go ahead and roll.
Yeah, I mean,
Sandy roll.
It would be, Mark's interested in what Cassie's interested in.
Totally.
He's worried. That is an 8. Daggone, look at that.
Yeah. Good roll. Yeah, you lose nothing.
Finally. Yeah, I see it too. This
We should
is
catch up with the others.
Yeah, I think this has all been planned for a very long time. Do you believe in predestination?
You mean fate?
Yeah. I mean, they say that God has numbered your days. That He knows every hair on your head. I just don't see why we would be heading into all this if it weren't part of it, some kind of plan.
Do you think this is a punishment? Do you think this is something that we deserve from what we did back then?
You mean like for what happened with Sharon? Kids?
Before that, when we first came to the apartment building.
I know you took it harder than I did. That was a lot to deal with. But I honestly believe we did what we had to do, Sandra. Don't you see that? We didn't have a choice.
Destiny, or fate, or whatever you want to call it. It's about planning ahead. It's about establishing what's going to happen in your future, but that requires a sense of time that I don't think exists here anymore.
I'm just gonna pretend I understood any of that.
The only way out is through. And Cassandra will put the postcard away and start to walk past Mark and catch up to Geneva and Michael.
Well, that I understand. And Mark follows.
You approach this brick building that's been painted red and white, the paint chipping away and fading. And you regard this building, and there is a door that stands open. If you didn't, it looks abandoned. The door is ajar. The windows are dark. The windows that you can see are kind of set high up on the building itself. It kind of looms over you at this point, 2-3 stories tall. But you can see a way inside.
Yeah, I mean, Geneva will try to head in. I think still keeping up whatever kind of stealth that they can, so as not to get into another crossfire or, anything like that. So
Good call. Okay.
Trying to find the safest route that they can get in.
So as you kind of step inside, go ahead and, for those who are trying to be quiet, go ahead and make those stealth rolls.
Oh, geez. I should have looked at my stealth score before I said that.
Stealth has never been a strong suit of ours.
Nope.
Oof.
There's Mark with a big old fumble. 77.
Oh, how?
Some of these
I
are
got the highest
really
stealth
good.
score I've ever had, I think.
I love that. Yeah, Geneva and Cassandra got 1 point away from failure.
1 point away. Yeah, Cassie with a 16 out of 17, Mark with a 77 out of 10. That's a fumble. Geneva with a 10 out of 11, and Michael with a 15 out of 12. It's hard. You kind of, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You make a little bit of a racket coming inside. There's a stumble and a trip, and there's broken glass on the cement floor, and it's just it is impossible not to make noise. And the way that every little sound reverberates off the brick and concrete around you, you have announced your arrival to all. However, it doesn't look like there's anyone around at this point. The interior is as vast and airy. It's dimly lit from high set windows on those exterior walls. Water You can hear it dripping from the ceiling and pooling in cracks and potholes. The first thing you notice are machine parts just kind of piled throughout, clumped in groups, all kind of almost categorized. There's one, all parts are bronze. Another is all cogs. Another is nothing but hinges. All these mechanical pieces just kind of lying around. Somebody make an alertness roll.
I've got a 63.
I have an 86.
Yes,
Ooh.
you do it then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Beautiful. Yeah, with a 6 out of 86. Geneva. You can kind of, as your eyes begin to adjust to the darkness and the dim light in here, you can see kind of further in this slight flicker that reminds you of either candle or lantern light.
Yeah, I think she'll kind of point it out to the others and head that way. What was the name of the guy that we were supposed to meet?
Ambrose.
Ambrose, that's right. Okay, yeah. Assuming that's where Ambrose is.
You do notice a tall, a shadow kind of separates itself from the darkness around you. And you have that slight jump, that slight sudden fight or flight response as you see this sudden figure just kind of appear and move across a doorway. It's a tall, thin, shadowed figure wearing this red robe, kind of moving in the direction of that flicker that you saw. He's carrying a box rapidly through these stacks of machine parts. The box seems to, it bears a Chiquita Bananas logo, of all things. But he seems to move deeper into the building.
It's the weirdest thing we've seen so far.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Chiquita Bananas. Yeah, I something tells me to just go after him. And Mark's just going to take off.
Okay. Everybody following?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Okay.
Michael
You-
somewhat reluctantly, I will say. Like he
Sure.
does like a heavy sigh first and then hikes up his little robe and goes.
You pursue, moving among these stacks of machine parts, and you notice that there are these candles and these bronze candelabras that are placed next to or on top of a variety of these strange clockwork machines of various make and function. Really almost impossible to tell what they could possibly be for, but again, these are sights that you've kind of become used to at this point. You've seen the lion, seeing the scribe, seeing the diorama in Barbas's house, seeing this thing on top of the roof of the very building you're now in. And you make your way through. And as you turn a corner, you enter a larger chamber, and there's a ring of candles in the center of the room. Darkness kind of all around. The light from the windows does not seem to reach in here. In fact, you can't see any windows in this part of the building. And in the center of this ring of candles is this short, stocky old man with a bushy gray beard and curly white hair, wearing this strange kind of silvery robe without markings. And it looks like he's got a giant monkey wrench in one hand.
Does the silvery robe look like the silvery robes that Cassandra has seen before?
It does. Yep.
Okay. Cassandra will actually break away and approach.
As you do, you can hear kind of this man talking. Oh, you like the idea of a mask on it, do you? We'll see what we can do about your wheels soon, my friend. And you hear this clicking and clacking as the clockwork child that you've seen before, the very one who delivered the message from Abby when you awoke from the Dorchester house, rolls into the light. The man then calls out, "My young friends, please come closer."
Cassandra will look down at the automaton girl, and before he says that, we'll actually kneel down and just gently caress its cheek as if it's like a child, a real child, and looking into its eyes. And then hearing the man speak, she snaps back into whatever reality they're in and looks back at the others to see if they hear the same thing or if they're reacting to him.
They all do. Yeah, you all see this man and hear his summons to come closer.
And we also recognize the Clockwork Child. I think there's recognition in at least Mark's eyes as he's looking at this thing, which the Clockwork Child has always been creepy, but hasn't seemed terribly dangerous, I guess.
Right.
How far back did we encounter the Clockwork Child the first time? Was that in the building?
It was in the night floors, right?
Yeah, the very first one who encountered it was
Jenny.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. So Michael and Geneva wouldn't have any recollection, right?
Not at this point, no.
Well, the Clockwork Child gave us the invitation, which was right before we saw Michael and Geneva. I don't know if they saw it.
They did not.
Okay.
Michael will still, again, like a little hesitantly, but we'll start following Cassandra.
What can I do for you? What brings you here?
We've got a party to go to.
Ah, the masquerade.
Yes.
We're looking for an Ambrose.
He grins ear to ear and kind of does this very elaborate bow, kind of flicking the robe as he does so, and kind of spins his arms and is very extravagant, very performative. You have the pleasure of meeting his acquaintance. I am Ambrose. And who might you be?
That's a good question.
An ally.
My name is Michael. And Michael holds out his hand.
He shakes it, kind of bows.
Is it a firm grip or like one of those limp fish?
It's firm. It's a firm grip. And his hands, he's obviously used to manual labor. Like there's calluses and it's rough and thick. And this is a man who's used to working with his hands and tools of various makes.
Can I ask you a question? And I realize it's probably not going to get me anywhere, but what the hell, right? He looks expectantly at him.
What the hell, indeed?
Can you tell me what the fuck is going on? Like, just literally any information about what's happening. Anything you can tell me. I know we're going to a party. I know some other crazy shit is going on, but none of it really has ever actually made sense. And maybe it's not supposed to, but you seem like you know what's going on, so...
Well, I'm afraid you'd have to be slightly more specific. What is it you... I'm not... He looks kind of at the others, confused. I'll be honest with you, my friend. I'm not sure how to answer that question.
Literally pick one piece of information you think is good or helpful and give it to me. And I will be the happiest human on the face of the earth. I swear to God. Are we on the face of the earth?
Well, I've always been here, as far as I can remember. I maintain and build things on the orders of the king, and my friend here, he delivers them to his court, and sometimes people come to pick my creations up, but it's really been a long time since I've seen anyone living.
So you're dead?
No. I just haven't had company and well, to be completely honest, I can't remember when the last time I had company was. There's the woman and the man, but I can't even tell you how long ago that was.
Are you a human being?
Last I checked.
I'm not trying to insult you. You look like one. You seem like one. You seem great. But are you a human being?
To the best of my knowledge, my friend.
Michael goes and sits on the nearest available surface and just puts his elbows on his knees and his forehead into the palms of his hands. and then looks up briefly and says, "Thank you," and then puts his head back down.
Certainly, of course.
Hang on, you mentioned a woman and a man came to you?
They passed through on their way to the palace, yes.
How long ago was that?
Oh, I don't know.
Did they say anything? Did they give you a name? Did you catch what they look like?
I remember their names. The man was Emmett, and the woman was Abigail? That sounds right. Yes, Abigail.
Yeah. Abigail, right.
Perhaps. She didn't give a last name, but I do remember Abigail.
This child of yours, how often is she called to deliver to the king?
Frequently. That's my sole function here, is to make various devices and parts and repairs for him.
Would we be able to have her escort us to this masquerade? It's getting to this factory was not easy. Perhaps if she accompanies us, it might be safer for all of us.
Well, I can take you, certainly.
Even better.
You do have your invitations, though, correct?
Yes.
All of you?
Don't we just have one invitation?
Yeah, I think we just have one.
Yeah, Cassandra just looks around anxiously at the others to see if they maybe have an invitation that they didn't say anything about.
We all have one total.
Oh, that won't do at all. If you all hope to get inside, you will all need your own invitations. Do you have costumes? Do you have masks? This is a masquerade, after all. You can't show up like this. This is unsatisfactory.
This might be a little weird, but since it's worked to some degree before, as he's talking and as Geneva and the others are talking with him, Cassandra's going to think about the fact that they've only got the one invitation, and holding her hand in her pocket where the invitation was, she's going to think about having invitations for the others. Does anything happen?
No, you just have the one. Yeah, and in fact, you don't have an invitation. The only one who does is Geneva, who got an invitation from the anarchist along with the bomb.
Oh, that one. Oh, I thought you were talking about the one that we got at what's his face's house.
Oh yeah, that wasn't even an invitation. That was just a missive. From
okay,
Abby.
no, yeah, scratch that. I'm sorry, I totally misunderstood it. Yeah.
No, you're good.
Scratch
yeah.
it.
I want to do something kind of along the same lines as Jack, but I want to think about myself. Michael's going to think really, really, really hard about him being in a tuxedo and wearing the most elaborate masquerade mask of all time. We're talking like tuxedo mask ass get up.
Sure. Nothing happens.
Okay. He seems disappointed, but also no one can tell. His face is in his hand still.
Do you need additional? Well, of course you need additional invitations. Only one of you has one.
Yeah, we were told that you could help get us in.
Well, I'm afraid I have none available. As I've said, this is my place. The masquerade, unfortunately, is not for me. However, I do know where we can potentially get more. There is a scribe in the building, the gallery next door. We can take you.
When you say scribe, are you talking about a person or a machine?
Oh, machine. The most glorious contraption.
Yeah. Hold on just a second. Are you sure it's safe?
Oh, very. The gallery itself, if you want to safely navigate it, you will have to listen to my instructions and not deviate in the slightest. People have had a tendency to get lost inside, but it is not without its risk. But once we get to the scribe himself is entirely harmless.
Well, I gotta tell you, I think I've seen pictures of this scribe, and it didn't look safe.
Oh, you mean the lion?
Well, yeah. I mean, they both have some broad similarities.
They do, and vast differences as well. I assure you, the scribe does exactly as its name would suggest. It writes, it creates. The lion protects and destroys.
We will follow your instructions. We just need to get in.
But you have costumes.
We weren't exactly prepared for this when we ended up here. So, no, unfortunately.
Well, that, my beautiful friend, I can assist you with. Please, give me a moment. Child, come. And the clockwork child kind of wheels around under its own power and follows him off into the dark, and you vaguely see him kind of messing with various racks that seem to be in place and boxes and moving. And a few minutes pass, and he comes with an armful of robes and gowns of various make and masks, these elaborate mechanical masks that are made of like woven metal, brass, and mechanical parts. There are animals, 5 of them: a frog, a hawk, a fly, a minotaur, and a heron. And their eyes are actuated. The mouths appear like they move up and down. These are beautifully made. And he presents them all to you and say, have your pick.
What are they again?
A frog, a hawk, a fly, a minotaur, and a heron. And they're like these full face masks. And then the robes themselves, there's gold, there's silver, there's like a bronzish, a green, a blue.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out which one Cassandra would be gravitating towards.
I think Michael would, if nobody else has a pressing desire for it, would probably go for the heron, because he tends to freeze when he's scared.
Okay.
Yeah, Geneva might grab the hawk, I think.
As soon as he said hawk, I was like, that shit's Geneva's.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Cassandra looks over at Mark to see which one he's considering.
Mark's definitely not going for the fly. Or the minotaur. Those things are too weird. He just grabs the frog.
Yeah, when you do that, Cassandra, she looks really conflicted, strangely enough. Trying to contemplate the implications of what mask. Also thinking that, like, given the weirdness, what she might end up becoming, like maybe like they get turned into something like that their mask is, I don't know. But with that thought in her head, she will take the Minotaur.
I think that's actually pretty fitting for Cassandra with the like labyrinthine implications. You know what I mean?
I'll take it.
Yeah, trapped in the labyrinth, always kind of looking for a way out.
Ooh, there you go. There you go. Or guardian of the labyrinth. She's going to stick around and help out others.
There you go.
We'll destroy them.
Oh, hopefully these are to your liking.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Do you have a place where I could... do you have any bandages? And Michael has pulled off his shoes and he's pointing to his, like, rock and glass cut feet.
Oh, my dear. Yes. I'm afraid they're just rags and scraps from various clothing items that haven't been used yet, but of course, help yourself, please.
Thank you. Barefoot through a warfield, so...
Yes. Do you all want to proceed to the scribe?
Yes, please.
And then we will return here and should you need escort to the rest of the way to the palace, we can take my orrery. We'll get you there much quicker.
Ambrose, as I assume we're walking now with them.
Yeah, him and the clockwork child begin. He's walking. The child is kind of rolling along on this rickety, squeaky wheel. You can hear it just kind of squeaking and grinding as it moves. As they take you through the building out towards the back.
Not to stretch the costume part on longer than it needed to be, but for the masks, that part we've got locked down. What were they? Did he have like bundles of like actual costume clothes, or were they like fancy dress clothes? Like what was the?
Just like robes and cloaks.
Okay, we put those on.
If you want to, yeah. You can.
But what Cassandra was going to ask him actually was these robes, the silver one that you wear in particular, is there significance? Is there a meaning?
No, to be frank, they're just the first ones I grabbed.
Where do you get them? I'm asking because I've seen others wearing them. I've seen them a lot, actually, throughout my life, and I didn't know if there was some significance to the color or the design. Or
you mean the masks or the robes?
The robes.
No,
the silver robes specifically.
No. Not to my knowledge, anyway. Again, I don't... You'll forgive me, I don't get out much.
That's fair. And, Cassandra will drop it and keep walking with the others.
Eventually, you kind of squint against the daylight, or this at least this strange kind of soft twilight that seems to be perpetually hanging over the city. But after the darkness of the interior of the factory, it takes just a moment for your eyes to adjust, and you step back outside. And Ambrose and the child, very patiently lead you down a street to this next building, the one that you've kind of come to know as the gallery. In this case, it's a very opulent looking, almost like a museum. It's all marble and pillars and columns and grand stairs leading up to the main entrance. And again, no activity. You can't even remember the last time you've seen people around at this point. There's nobody out and about on the streets. It seems to be you, and there's this eerie quiet that has settled over the city. Especially compared with the chaos of the war zone and everything else you kind of pushed through. But Ambrose kind of reaches down and picks up the clockwork child and this very small contraption and kind of carries it under one arm up the stairs to the main entrance before he sets it down and kind of holds open the door. Again, if you would, just a moment. I highly recommend you don't look at any of the paintings.
Understood.
Is it worth asking why?
They have a tendency to unsettle, and individuals who have perhaps looked too long don't find themselves seeing much after that.
Noted.
Mark's looking directly at Cassandra. He reaches over towards her hand and takes it if she doesn't pull away. He says, looking straight into her eyes, "You're not going to look at the paintings, are you?"
No. We're here for the party. The masquerade.
Yeah. Just keep your mind on that.
I'm trying.
Yep, he turns to Ambrose and just raises his eyebrows to indicate that he's ready to go.
Marvelous. Yes. Onward, my friends. Yes, here we go. Okay. And he steps inside, and with him and the clockwork child kind of walking side by side, he leads you into this museum, this gallery. High ceilings, marble. You see sculptures, you see paintings, sketches, you see all manner of art and books, and you see there are, even in some cases, slideshows, like old 1950s era, 1960s era, what the projectors set up and projecting images onto the walls. Art is literally everywhere. There is a method to the organization, and perhaps, but it's impossible for you to discern at this point. It's just literally every available surface features some installment or some piece of art. Yes, eyes forward, please. Follow me. And he begins leading you down a series of hallways, deeper and deeper into this gallery. It's dark. There are candles and candelabras that are lit, some oil lanterns, but for the most part, it is at least slightly better lit than the inside of the factory, but it almost feels darker, if that makes sense. There's definitely an oppressive air kind of hanging over everything. And as you walk past these pieces of art, you definitely cannot shake that feeling of being watched. What do you do?
Cassandra is focusing and trying as hard as she can to keep her eyes to the ground, but is definitely struggling too.
Okay.
I think Michael's like nervously, kind of like nervously spinning the hammer. You know when you're holding the handle of something and you kind of like flick it and let it like spin a little and catch it, and flick it and let it spin a little and catch it. He's doing that over and over again. And he didn't change into one of the silver ropes. He's still wearing his bathrobe, just with the hair and mask on.
Okay. I'm guessing Geneva is just stoic and dead-faced, just straight ahead.
Oh yeah, she's not going to tempt fate right now. No thanks.
Beautiful.
I think Mark is going to do his best not to look directly at any of the paintings. But at the same time, my curiosity is too high. Without looking like directly at them, are there any of them through the colors or something like that remind him of what we saw in Abigail Wright's place, which was another collection of all sorts of art?
Nothing as chaotic and disjointed as what that had been.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing like where it was like all pieces of like junk and detritus just kind of amalgamated on this single wall. I mean, for all intents and purposes, it's almost like walking through a museum like the Louvre or, something in New York, where only not as like there's sculpture, like, typically you go to one wing, it's sculptures, you go to another wing, it's oil works from a particular era. Like in this case, it's all just kind of intermingled with one another in no particular order or rhyme or reason, at least none that you can figure out, but it's just everywhere.
But it's like controlled chaos. It's not like Abigail's apartment.
Almost kind of in the same way. Like there's a method to the madness. You're not mad enough to know what that method is quite yet.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But as you make your way through, eventually he kind of turns a corner into this alcove, and there's no place else to go at this point. I mean, there's obviously hallways to the left and right, but you've kind of reached this dead end where you're unable to continue going forward. It's either back the way you came or to the left and to the right. And at the end of this alcove is a velvet rope and a display where you see this oversized mannequin resembling this strangely proportioned porcelain doll of a 17th century gentleman sitting at a desk. You see this desk itself. You see a quill in one hand. You see an ink pot. You see paper. You see a tray off to the side.
I guess this is a scribe.
As you say that, it begins writing.
What is it writing? Can I see?
Roll alertness.
Okay. Ouch.
Hard
An
to see.
89?
Yeah, 89 to 76. Hard to see without getting past the rope at this point, but Ambrose does confirm this is the scribe. You have the invitation, yes?
Oh yeah, she will hand it over.
He kind of holds a hand back and says, for this to work, you must be the one to place it. The tray to the left.
Yeah, she will go put it down.
As soon as you put the invitation in the left tray, it goes through this kind of, not quite a transformation, but this one hand springs forward and moves the paper that it had been scribbling on off and discards it. Pulls out a blank template from inside the desk that perfectly matches the one upon which the invitation has been written. It places it on the desk and scribbles out a separate invitation for one of you, whoever's next in line.
Probably Michael, right?
Yeah. And I think when he approaches the machine, because I would have to approach the machine to get the thing right?
Right, yeah. And you notice that the first invitation, it kind of scribbles out rapidly, its hand moving almost impossibly fast as it begins kind of scrawling. It is an invitation to the masquerade made out to specifically Geneva Brown.
Okay. So he'll hand the invitation to Geneva then?
And as you approach, it springs to life again and begins writing out another invitation.
Oh,
this
gotcha.
one to Michael Witwer. And again, to Mark Hansom. And finally to Cassandra Troy.
Hey, Ambrose. Does this thing... Can we ask it questions?
No, it is not intelligent in that sense. It is not capable of responding in that way.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
And one by one, the scribe, as each of you approach, spins up, writes another invitation, pulls out another template, writes out another invitation, until finally all of you have your own.
Yeah, Cassandra's holding it in between both of her hands, just looking, staring down at it, trying to keep her eyes on the invitation itself, so that she's not looking at any of the paintings or artworks in the gallery.
Good. Okay. And Ambrose looks at you all and says, "If that's all, to the palace."
Yes, please.
Of course. Follow me. And again, he and the Clockwork Child kind of take off and begin escorting you out until finally you make your way back outside of the gallery, this museum. And but this time he kind of leads you directly back to the factory where you initially encountered him. And he takes a staircase up to the roof, and you can actually see for the first time up close this thing that he referred to as the orrery. In the meantime, during the journey back, do you all talk about anything, do anything?
Well, once Cassandra sees that they're out on the street, she'll finally look up and blink her eyes a bit, making sure that, everything seems as it is and she's not surrounded by evil artwork anymore. And but I don't think she would say anything unless provoked.
Okay.
I think Michael will pick up his pace a little bit so that he's walking beside Geneva rather than behind her, and reach out and take her hand if she'll allow it.
Yeah, I think she would.
And then he'll just say, "Do you think this is it? Is this the end?"
I have no clue. I hope so. We might also be starting something completely new. We'll find out.
Feels like an ending, I think.
Yeah, she doesn't look as certain as you, but just kind of gives a small, hopeful nod.
Geneva, I don't think I'm going to live through this. Have you ever thought that before? Or felt it, I guess? The knowledge that, you know.
Yeah, I mean, many times, many jobs. I think I always go in knowing that my job isn't necessarily to live through it. So it's always an option. I will agree, though, that this in particular feels more fatal than previous ones.
How are you so calm?
I don't know. I guess I kind of just accepted what this job was a long time ago. If I don't survive it, it's just part of the gig.
Don't you have things you're going to miss?
She looks a little I cannot say it.
Contemplative.
Thank you. Could not get it out. That, yes. For a brief second. She's like, a good steak, maybe? I don't know.
A good steak? He looks like he might... Like, he looks like a little incredulous, and then realizes that he's... It's like maybe not his place to interrogate the things that you care about or enjoy. And so kind of like masters his face a little and then goes, I mean, it is good when it's good, huh?
I mean, we don't talk about our personal lives that often. But honestly, I don't have much to say about mine. I pushed it away a long time ago.
Well, for what it's worth, I'm really glad you're here. I mean, I'm not glad you're here because it fucking sucks here. It's the worst.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm glad it's... I don't know. If it had to be someone, I'm glad it's you.
Yeah, likewise.
He like, leans his head over a little and kind of, like, taps her on the side of her head with his head.
You've been a good partner for a long time.
I'm a dog shit partner, and you carried my ass through a lot of stuff, but thank you for saying. I appreciate it.
Anytime.
Mark, Cassie, do you all talk at all?
If Mark has something to say, she'll entertain him, but otherwise she's just full steam ahead.
Yeah, I think Mark is kind of uncharacteristically quiet at this point, given all they're facing.
Fair enough.
Trying to figure out what it all means.
Ambrose leaves the clockwork child at the foot of the staircase that leads to the roof and says, I'll be back soon. Don't miss me too much. Let's take our friends to the palace and we'll get right back to work. You four, please follow me. And he leads you up and up to the roof, to this strange steam-powered machine that looks like a perverse merry-go-round. This close, you can see there are these wooden painted sculptures like horses, fish, and dogs all along its deck bearing saddles. It looks like it could fit as many as 6, not including Ambrose himself. There seems to be like a central booth and almost like a cockpit. Well, this is the orrery. This will take us really anywhere we need to go.
Thank you, Ambrose.
Think nothing of it, my friend. Please choose a seat. Strap yourselves in. Here, and he reaches in underneath a console in that central booth, and he pulls out goggles and hands a pair to each of you.
Would we need them if we're wearing the masks?
You may want to take the masks off for the ride. I wouldn't want to lose them now.
That's fair. And Cassandra will take off. Actually, she'll start to take off the Minotaur mask, but then wait to see what the others do.
As always, Michael will follow Geneva's lead.
Everybody's following Geneva's lead.
Everyone looks at her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think she wants to keep hers on. I think she gets like just the slightest bit of comfort of thinking that whoever they're going to run across can't see her face.
Well, at least, do you mind? And he kind of like holds the strap of the goggles out and goes to like put them over you and just kind of waits for you to give him the go ahead.
Yeah, she will.
He kind of settles it over the eye openings. Debris, potentially. You've come this far.
Right.
Well, when you're ready, and he'll kind of, for those keeping the masks on, he'll help you and then strap you in to your seats.
Yeah. Mark would take his mask off and dutifully put on the goggles.
Good man. Good man. Yes. Well, hold on, my friends. He takes his position in this central booth and begins throwing levers, and immediately this orrery begins to spin and rotate and spin and spewing steam and shrieking and rattling until finally you're rotating so fast that the outside world is nothing but this multicolored blur spinning out of control. And suddenly you're lifting and you're moving. This thing leaps from the roof of the factory, and you can't tell what direction is east, west, north, south, up, or down. All there is this nauseating, shattering spin, this sensation of just constant motion in all directions, just spinning and spinning. You don't know how long it spins like that for, or how long you are just breathlessly holding on to your seat, to your mask, to your eyes shut open, trying to make sense, whatever. It is just pure chaotic motion. But eventually you feel the thing settle with a thump. And eventually the spinning stops. I need everyone to roll sanity.
There we go. That's the stuff.
Mark with a 62 out of 57. Geneva with a 65 out of 39. Cassie with a 47 out of 25. And Michael with a 21 out of 52. So the only one to succeed. Cassie, Geneva, and Mark. Roll 1d6 for me.
Honestly, like Michael's sanity rolls have been crazy since we got here, and it does not fit his character at all. He should be a gibbering mess.
Right. So Cassie for 1 minute, Mark for 2 minutes, and Geneva for 4 minutes. You suffer from just this overwhelming sensation of vertigo and nausea, and you can barely just stand up after kind of prying yourself out of your seat. All your rolls will be at negative 40% for that amount of time.
Okay, like in real life, that amount of time, or like how do you track that?
Narratively,
okay.
I'll do my handler thing and just kind of, if that feels like it's been enough time.
Okay.
Geneva, you're looking particularly bad.
Yeah.
And he kind of walks over to you and pats you on the back. Marvelous contraption.
And she kind of like does that little like woozy kind of like, oh my god, okay, don't easy.
Well, my friends, do you need anything else?
Just a minute to get our bearings, my bearings anyway. And then she looks over at Geneva and says, our bearings.
I think I might need a bucket.
Yes. Just not in the orrery, please.
Honestly, I usually hate that kind of thing, but that was exhilarating. Right?
Mark looks at Michael like, shut the F up.
Mark doesn't cuss much, but he probably wants to in that moment.
Yes.
Yeah, like he's usually like again he's a coward, but he has like a little kid just getting off their first sort of roller coaster ride look on his face.
You just got out of the teacups and you're just living life, loving it.
Exactly.
It actually, out of character, just remind me of like, has anyone been to like a carnival and just been on the starship?
Yeah.
Where you just like stick to the wall and it goes super fast.
I love that thing.
I do too, yeah.
I was always too much of a chicken to try it.
Yeah, no, it's take that and then pump it up to 11, and you can still see the outside world and probably a similar sensation.
Love it.
I would imagine it's like that, but also combined with that death drop ride where it just takes you up like 15 stories and free stuff you.
Yeah, combine those two, and that's relatively the sensation you're looking at.
Yeah, no, fuck that.
So you all kind of just go right to the head of the line?
Yeah, I think especially since everyone's kind of, drunk off their tits and seems to be a part of this world, I think that would just reinforce the fact that like the four of us are special and we're honored guests in some way and that we are supposed to be in there as soon as possible.
Okay. You approach the gate and you can see that there are two guards manning this entry point and checking invitations, searching the partygoers before being permitted to enter. They're wearing these ceremonial outfits, these red velvet coats with golden piping and gold lion masks. Each one is wearing a holstered revolver and carrying a long halberd with what looks like a hooked blade. You can only see two there at the gate. More but can actually be seen beyond it on the palace grounds, patrolling the perimeter. As you approach, one of them holds out a hand and says, "Halt! Invitation."
Cassandra will not say anything, but just look up at him with her Minotaur mask, looking him in the eyes, and just pull out the invitation that she has from the scribe.
"Arms to the side, please."
She complies.
And pats you down. And the same goes for all of you. You're all patted down. What's odd is they find the firearms. They find the bomb. Because there's really no way to conceal that.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
And what's odd is that they just are kind of very dismissive of it. Like one of them kind of looks at the bomb and just very carelessly tosses it into a box next to the gate. And the pistols as well, just kind of looks it over. Into the box it goes. Very oddly nonchalant. But everything else that's not a weapon, your invitations, the bottle, they have no issues with you keeping. And as you make an alert, for those kind of looking around as this is going on, make an alertness roll.
I'm assuming the answer to this is yes, but just in case it's not, do they take my hammer?
Yes.
No.
Weird.
Geneva with that 34 of 86. Mark with a 42 out of 76. Michael with a 3 out of 82. And Cassie with an 80 out of 63. Those succeed. You kind of look around and you notice that there's definitely a new level of chatter. Some of the individuals in line, and there's got to be hundreds of them, extending from those gates that you now find yourselves at to around the corner. A lot of them are just kind of glaring at you now with these jaundiced eyes and are just kind of whispering amongst themselves as they just stare at you nastily. Obviously, there's some aggravation that those that have been waiting in line have now been cut by these fish out of water, quite literally. But the guards, conclude their search, and seeing that you all have your invitations, you all are appropriately adorned and masked. One of the guards stands to the side with an arm and says, "Enjoy the masquerade. Long live the king."
Long live the king. And Cassandra will walk past him and just go.
Yeah, Geneva walks in, kind of maybe taking an extra look or note of where the box with her firearm and the bomb was set. And maybe like as they're passing it and like going through, maybe seeing like, all right, if I were to try to get that at some point, what would be like the best way to do that? Not that she's making any moves to do that now, but just kind of trying to scope the area out.
Got it. Yeah. So you would essentially, in order to gain access to it again, you know that you would actually have to physically either get past or depart through that gate that you are now entering and get to on the other side. So this box is on the entrance side of the gate, and not far from the side of one of these guards.
Damn. Okay.
But with that, let me cue up some music.
Some party music?
Yes, of course.
Turn up.
It's just ABBA.
Yeah,
yes.
Right.
Let's get in.
Fuck you. Just kidding.
How dare you?
As we make our way through the gates, though, Mark is going to look at Cassandra and say, "You don't really mean that. Long live the king, right?"
She doesn't say anything.
I mean, we're Americans. We don't believe in kings, right? And he'll let it go at that.
Yeah, you see that she's, as soon as she hears the very Baroque style music and sees the opulence of everything, you see that she almost, like not even almost, she straightens up. She takes on this poise and it's a poise that you haven't seen in her for years, given the fact that she, the last time you saw her, she was, basically homeless and a drug addict. But she, her posture stiffens, her shoulders go back, her chest up, and she carries herself through this area as if almost royalty, as if she feels worthy of the station.
As you all step through the gate and begin making your way through the grounds into the palace itself, anybody ever seen Versailles? Photos of Versailles?
Yes.
Yeah, I've been there.
Very much like that.
Bitch.
Very much like just Baroque and opulent and just gold and red everywhere. And of course, yellow. You are led by a constant kind of stream of guards, kind of lined up on the sides, guiding guests that you are trailing and yourselves into the ballroom. It is huge, Baroque, pristine. It is virtually impossible to determine how many people are in there, but it is filled to near capacity. Faces, masks, outfits seem to repeat, blur, blend together. It is just an ocean, an all-encompassing ocean of bodies and masks and costume. Everywhere you look, there's paintings, pillars, a piece of art. The partygoers themselves, uniformly dressed in beautiful finery, wearing these demi-masks that cover their eyes and noses. Sideways glances are kind of thrown at you as you wear these animal masks that you've received from Ambrose. The eyes opening and shutting as you move your own eyes, the mouths opening and closing as you speak. But what do you do?
Is it okay if I say that little puffs of steam come out of her nose whenever she breathes?
Absolutely. Love it.
Fantastic.
That's cool. I hate to to put this on you constantly, Cami, but Michael looks at Geneva.
Go on.
Yeah, I mean, I think she would be looking for Jay Lynn's, but we don't know what he looks like, right?
Right.
So I don't even know how she would go about doing that. So then I guess the next thing on her checklist would be to attempt to scope out exits, potential threats or problems, like if there's more guards. She's not really doing anything proactive that probably the others could follow suit in. She's just kind of taking stock of everything around them while she tries to figure out how to find Jalen's.
Okay. as you kind of look around, go ahead and roll. Everybody, go ahead and make alertness rolls. We'll see what you see and when you see it.
Now I failed.
Okay, 98 out of 86 for Geneva, 13 out of 76 for Mark, 33 out of 82 for Michael, and 18 out of 63 for Cassie. Beautiful. Geneva, you have a problem with enclosed spaces, right?
Yeah, I still do. Yep.
That is, so you're not, that feeling is definitely coming to the forefront with just these people all around. It's impossible to not feel slightly claustrophobic with just all of these individuals just surrounding you, and you are just drowning in an ocean of bodies. Not quite enough to trigger your disorder, right? But it's enough to definitely put you on edge. And as try as you might to just kind of make sense of your surroundings, it is difficult when everywhere you look there are just more masks, more bodies, more guards, just things and threats, and it's sensory overload for you to an extent.
Gotcha. Makes
for the
sense.
rest, for the rest of you, you notice that there is this old plain woman in black sitting on a divan, D-I-V-A-N. Divan, yeah, near the entrance. Flanked by a crowd and attended by a thin, blank-faced, possibly a relation, maybe a son. It looks like she's reading tarot cards. At the far end of the ballroom, on a bier, surrounded by these golden lion guards, appears to be, from what you can tell, the royal family, sisters, two of them glowing in jeweled gold, brothers wearing the red and gold uniforms of the Yatil military, two advisors wearing white robes and black masks, all standing to either side of an empty golden throne. No sign of the king. And Cassie, I'd say with that role, you're kind of looking around at the art and everything around you, and there's I mean, tapestries and paintings everywhere, and you notice one in particular. It kind of looks like, you know, the painting The Creation of Adam?
Yes.
It looks like that, but it's with a familiar figure and a clown.
Oh, is that Ira?
Yes.
Is he naked?
From the top up.
Okay.
The bottom appears to have kind of exploded into this red mist.
Oof.
She stops, and her body is immediately arrested by this sight, and remembering the terror that she felt trying to just get out of that place, out of the Dorchester house, and seeing Ira's body explode in that mist. And she remembers that time that he visited her in her dreams, and she hears that whisper again, and it almost drowns out the opulent music that's going on around her. And I'd say that Mark, you know, since he keeps an eye on her, would see that she's just kind of frozen in place and looking at this painting.
Yeah, I've seen her gaze on this painting. Mark would look at it himself. Huh. Somebody's got a sick sense of humor.
Do you think they're here?
What?
Jenny and Ira, do you think they might be here?
If they are, I think it'll be like before. Remember when we seen them on the way to the Hotel Broadalbin? It's like they were there, but they weren't there. I think they're gone, and I hope they went someplace nicer than this.
We should find JC.
Yeah, and what was that? Remember that invitation we got back a long time ago after we got out of the Dorchester house? Didn't it say something about a girl in blue?
Oh, did it? Let's see.
I mean,
is it
like,
the message or the?
Yeah, bottle bid invitation.
Oh, okay, yeah. Go now, find the hotel, the labyrinth, the author, his bottle, the city, the lake, the shadow, the battle, then the party, the dance, the girl in blue, the one singing, nothing is true, except out is through, love and kisses, Abby. Yeah, she would have memorized that. I didn't, obviously, as a player. But yeah, when you say that, she will perk up and start to look around the room and see if there's anyone, if she can hear any singing or see anybody dressed in blue.
Oddly enough, you look back towards the royal family, and standing alone at the base of that bier is a woman resplendent in a blue ball gown with this blue mechanical demi-mask shaped like a cat's face, just dourly watching the crowd. There's that feeling of recognition, and your eyes meet, and immediately you see her body language change, and she rushes through the crowd over to you.
Yeah, she'll wait for her to come to them.
It's you. You're here. Come on, just follow me, okay? Stay close.
She looks back at the others, but is following.
Geneva goes as well.
And therefore, so does Michael.
Yep. Mark will follow last. Got a little bit confused by this, but sure.
She pulls you into this kind of curtained area just off to the side and removes her mask. And Mark and Cassie, you immediately recognize Abigail Wright, looking no different than she did from the photos you saw back in 1995.
Is this a sanity roll?
Oddly enough, no.
Okay, fantastic. Then, since it's not breaking our brains, Cassandra will just almost like regarding her as like a warm, in this warm way. Abigail, it's good to finally meet you.
She hugs you and hugs Mark. I can't believe you finally made it. God, it feels like it's been forever.
It's been at least 20 years.
That long.
What are you doing here?
Well, I'm home. This is home for me now.
Why did you send us this invitation?
Well, you had your part to play. You all did. This is exactly where you're meant to be.
Even them, and she'll turn back towards Geneva and Michael.
Yeah, even them. Do you have the bottle?
Cassandra looks up at Geneva.
Do you know where JC Lens is?
You do have it.
I do.
She tries to hide it, but she seems almost overjoyed. Like her hands stop halfway to her face, almost as if she's about to like cover her mouth in just sheer giddy excitement, but she collects herself. Good. Okay. She kind of looks back at the royal family and looks back to you all. You've got to give it to him. He's wearing a raven mask.
What is this going to do?
It's going to start everything.
What does that mean?
He doesn't know that he needs to write the play, but he will now.
And this play, what's its purpose?
It's his will. It's the play. The King in Yellow, Loa and June, and it's everything. He needs to write it.
The man in the raven mask, is that JC Lens?
Yes, he's the author. He's the one who needs to write it. And that bottle is how he writes it.
Well, I mean, why is that a good thing?
You're still thinking in terms of good and bad. It's cause and effect, Mark. It's just, it needs to happen.
What will the effect be?
It gets you here.
When you say you, do you mean people in the, and she does like air quotes, real world? It will bring them here?
No. It just needs to happen.
I think she means us.
But we're already here.
Yes.
We're already here, Abigail.
Yeah, so what is the...
And you need to be here again. I need to be here again. You need to be here again. They need to be here again. It can't happen without the play.
You mean a cycle?
Yes.
What happens if we aren't here again?
All I know is you can't be here when he arrives. Cassie, look at me. You cannot be here when he arrives. Well, maybe not you. I think you're always meant to be here. But them, your friends, if they want to go home, they can't be here when he shows up.
What will happen?
I don't know. And she looks visibly terrified at this prospect. I just don't want to see anything else happen to you.
Abigail, I don't think you're going to tell me the truth, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Is there anything we can do to stop all this?
Why would you want to?
Well, I could give you a bunch of reasons, but let's just... What about if I were to say that we wanted to? Is there anything we can do?
The only way I can really answer that is by asking you a question. Can you stop the sun from rising and setting? Can you stop the planets from orbiting each other? Can you stop entropy? Can you stop any of it? He's no different.
Hang on. What is he? Really?
He's the king.
Have you seen him?
Yes.
Does he speak? Does he say anything to you? Is he the one who's told you all of this?
Yes.
Why wouldn't he want to see us then? Does he want us to give this bottle to JC? Does he want this play written?
Yes.
But I just need to make sure that I understood something you said earlier correctly. If we give the bottle to JC, we can go home before the king gets here?
If you can find your way back, yes.
Definitely want to human check that.
Go for it.
At that, Michael will turn to Geneva and go, "We need to fucking go now."
With an 8 out of 84, Mark, she is absolutely telling the truth. There is no sign of deception in her or from her at all.
She means it. Tag on it. I'd almost given up hope.
You just need to play your role.
Cassandra puts her hand on Mark's shoulder, and actually both of his shoulders, and just gently spins him towards her, their masks facing each other. And she leans in just a little bit. You know, it has to be done. It has to be written. If Geneva and Michael don't want that, then that's fine. That's their prerogative, but we were here at the beginning, and we need to be here at the end.
Cassie, what if by not writing it, it can all be undone?
You know, that's not how this works.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Geneva, I understand if you and Michael don't want to be here when he's here, but we need to give him that bottle.
Yeah. You mean the king?
No, JC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah.
but you don't want to be here when he's here too, right? Mark reaches out and forcefully grabs Cassandra's shoulders. You don't want to be here when he gets here, right? You're coming back with us.
She can't.
That was Abby who said that?
Yeah.
What do you mean she can't?
Well, you saw what happened to her in the library.
No, that's not fair. That's... Y'all just break the rules whenever you want to, you know that?
I hate to tell you, Mark, the rules are whatever he says they are.
Well, we've been trying to follow them.
And you've done...
And if that ain't gonna get us nowhere, then what the heck, man?
Mark.
She wants it. She's wanted it all along. You didn't see that?
Well, it ain't just up to her.
Abigail kind of looks at Cassie too.
He looks at Cassie and says, It ain't just up to you. There's people back there. They love you.
Geneva, we need to go find JC.
Right now.
Daggone it, Cassie. This isn't the end of this. But yeah, let's find him.
You've got maybe a half hour. Just... You need to be gone. And she looks at you, Cassie, and says, as long as you do what needs to be done, everything you want to know, you'll know.
She nods her head, and there's this little puff of steam that comes out of her nostrils.
Good luck.
Yeah, start to look for someone in a raven mask.
Yep.
All right.
Go for that mask.
Go ahead and make your search rolls.
Ouch.
Can I get a little bonus for rolling so well on alertness before? I've been
No.
watching. Ah!
Hey. Oh, looking good. All right, so Mark with an 8 out of 78. Geneva with a 71 out of 73. Michael with a 15 out of 60. Yeah, y'all are doing great. You all you don't quite split up, but you all, and Cassie with a 27 out of 73. You don't quite split up, but you all kind of take different portions of the ballroom to search. I mean, it is oppressive how many people are in here. And so you all kind of take a different sector of the ballroom to look, constantly looking for a man in a raven mask. In Geneva, you spot him first. A tall, thin, middle-aged man in an old-looking suit wearing the mask of a mechanical raven. It is almost identical to the ones that you and your compatriots wear, and very clearly a creation of Ambrose. For some ungodly reason, this man is carrying around an old portable Remington Remet typewriter under one arm. This thing is big, bulky, and heavy, but this man's carrying it around and has a drink in the other hand.
Yeah, she cuts through the crowd right towards him.
Do you point him out to any of the others?
Not immediately, no.
Okay. I'll say as you begin pushing your way through, you all, the rest of you kind of see a ripple in the crowd as some heads turn to regard Geneva pushing her way through, and you realize that you kind of follow her gaze and see that she's fixated on this man carrying a typewriter and a raven mask.
Yeah, well, want to see that. Cassandra will immediately start to follow her.
Okay. As you approach Geneva, like, he is obviously drunk. You can hear him slurring his speech, and he's talking to another guest who just based on their body language alone, seems rather bored of the conversation already. He's talking about writing and writer's block and the art. And what do you do?
She just goes up to him, kind of not like putting herself in between him and the guys that he's talking to, but positioning herself so that she's like directly in his eye line, and just goes, "Are you Mr. Linz?"
Oh, hey, Dollface. Yeah. GC Lynn's at your service.
I have something of yours.
Do you now? Is it another drink?
No, not exactly. What are you writing?
Right now? Fucking nothing. I'm on the skids. I got nada, bupkis, no ideas. Just sit down at this fucking godforsaken typewriter every night and just nothing. Not a goddamn single fucking thing.
I might be able to help you with that.
Oh, you gonna be my muse?
Are there still like a bunch of people like right around us? I mean, around us, but like paying attention. Like, is he still talking with that other guy? Or did that other guy leave?
Oh no. He's fixated on you, and the other guy's kind of taking the opportunity to separate himself. But yeah, there's people all around you, but nobody like in particular paying attention directly to you.
Okay. I mean, since time seems to be of the essence, she's just gonna reach in and not like flashily like wave it around, but just kind of like hold the bottle out in front of her. Say, this is yours.
Yeah. Oh my God. You found it. Oh my, yeah. He sets down the typewriter, grabs the bottle from you and immediately begins fumbling with it, pulling on the cork. And you, with a satisfying pop, the cork comes free from the bottle and he holds it up to his ear and listens. And he listens. His eyes moving behind that mask, processing whatever it is he's hearing, and you hear nothing. He smiles, his face just lost in rapture. And finally, he slowly brings the bottle away from his ear. I know it. I know it. I know the story I need to write. He just kind of throws the bottle and picks the typewriter back up and grabs you, Geneva, by your shoulder. Along the shore, the cloud waves break. The twin suns sink behind the lake. The shadows lengthen in Carcosa. I've got it. Oh, I've got it. And he laughs and immediately runs off into the crowd. I need you and everyone with you to make a sanity roll, as you all realize that you have just given birth to the King in Yellow.
Yeah.
Diggity darn it.
Okay, so Geneva or Cassie with a 51 out of 25, that is a failure. Geneva with a 47 out of 39, that is also a failure. Mark with a 39 out of 57, you succeed. And Michael with 21 out of 52, you succeed. Those who succeed, roll 1d6. Those who fail, roll 1d20.
Oh. Okay. Oh, Cassie.
That's like half your sanity, dude.
Oh my.
So
Also, good job, Cami.
yeah.
Close.
Michael, you lose 5. Geneva, you lose 3. Mark, you lose 5. Cassie, you lose 14.
Yikes.
I am 1 point away from my breaking point.
Oh, that's way better than I thought.
You watch as JC Lynn's just vanishes among the crowd. What do you do now?
Fucking regret all my life choices.
I don't know. Like, I don't think there was a way. I feel like Geneva's feeling is I have no clue what else we could have done, but I feel like this was still the wrong choice. So she's frustrated.
Cassandra reaches out to Mark and tries to take one of his hands.
Mark gives it to her.
And she starts to lead him to the dance floor where everyone else is dancing. Will you dance with me?
Oh, we gotta get out of here.
Please, this is the first time I've wanted to dance in so long.
One dance, Cassie. One dance. All right.
You can't tell because she's wearing a mask that covers her face, but she is very much smiling and starts to lead Mark towards the dance floor or whatever space everyone else is sort of congregating and dancing and being jovial.
Now, my understanding is that the masks have mechanical features that kind of represent what's going on underneath the mask.
Right.
So I might be able to see that you're smiling, but it's a minotaur with steam coming out of her nose that's smiling. So it definitely is not a good image to have. But Mark will follow. He kind of looks back at Michael and Geneva. There's like a pleading in his eyes.
I mean, yeah. Leaving.
Okay.
I think Geneva kind of sees you guys go to the dance floor and just gives you like I mean, you can't see unless the mask can emote it, but like what the fuck are you doing? And then she just turns and she goes out the door. I mean, assuming that's what you mean by, you can't be here.
Yeah. Like,
well, yeah. So what's the plan? How are you looking to get what's your plan of attack or your route?
Well, I mean, for Cassandra, all we knew is that we had to give the bottle to the guy so that we could be present for when he arrives.
Well, you and Mark are dancing, so I'm going to focus on Geneva.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure.
Totally, absolutely.
I mean, I don't think Michael has too much of a plan other than get out of the palace before the king arrives, because that seems to be the prerequisite of him being able to get home if he can find a way. And once the king arrives, it seems like that's not going to be a possibility anymore. So he just wants to book it. Like, the comedy version is him just fucking booking it out of there, but I think the real version is more like if he catches Mark looking at them, he's going to give him a sad smile, shake his head, and walk out the door.
Really quick, because I'm trying to determine if like the you can't be here is like Carcosa or if it's like the palace. I don't know if I could do any kind of like human, or I don't know if there's even a check I could do to kind of determine what does that mean and how would we accomplish that other than just doing what Michael's doing and running out the door, which I don't know how effective that's going to be.
Oh, we could ask Abigail how to leave.
That's true.
Point. Yeah.
Can I see Abigail?
You don't see her.
Yeah, she hides.
Fucking Abigail.
Fucking Abigail. Do I see anyone that I recognize? I mean, they all have masks. It's a dumb question. Never mind. Yeah, then I guess the only potential solution that Geneva can think of is just get out of the castle, because I have no fucking clue how we're going to get out of Carcosa.
Roll an alertness roll for me.
Okay.
Both of us or just Geneva?
Both. 35 out of 86. Okay. 69 out of 82
Nice.
For Michael. Good.
I think that just means we win. We got it.
Right?
Nailed
Yeah,
it.
you win.
Yeah, we win the game.
Nice.
We win the game.
Nice. You're kind of just frantically looking around, looking for someone or something you recognize. Something catches your eye, and you see that this old woman kind of in the corner by the entrance, looking at you. There is a line of people kind of waiting to have their cards read, but she is looking directly at you and Michael.
All right. She'll kind of say Michael's name to get his attention, but she's like already walking in that direction.
He follows.
Okay.
But he's kind of like prattling at her, like, don't you think we should be going? Should we be going? Should we be fucking with this? Don't we need to leave? That kind of thing.
Out is through, right? And she just walks up to the woman.
She kind of, as she sees you approach, there's a gentleman kind of seated in front of her having his cards read. And even though she's like mid reading, she like shoos him away and tells him to leave. And he kind of storms off in a huff. Miss Brown, have a seat.
Yeah, she sits down.
She begins shuffling the deck to and fro, stacking and spinning and fanning the cards in this impressive, almost hypnotic display. And finally, without warning, she just sprays them directly in your face. To the point where you kind of jump back and stumble. And when you kind of regain your composure and look around, you're alone in this room. This abandoned ballroom. All others are gone. And there's a trail of tarot cards on the floor, leading into the darkened halls of the palace.
Oh, fuck me. She runs, pretty much. She's moving fast.
We'll see where you and Michael end up in just a
I was
moment.
going to ask, Michael's with her, right?
No.
God damn it.
Cassie and Mark. What do you do?
I mean, we're dancing.
Yeah,
I assume that Cassie seems to be enjoying herself.
Yeah, I mean, she's got this sort of dazed. She's like it's almost trance-like the way that she's falling into step with everybody else. But yeah, she just seems kind of throwing her head back and her body back, and swinging with Mark. Just having a good old time. Almost ecstatic.
As Mark is, moving around the dance floor, doing putting his education as a Southern gentleman to use, showing off some dance moves. He looks over at Cassie and says, "It's been so long that now let's admit it. I don't think I've ever seen you this happy, this at ease."
I know. It's wonderful.
I don't. Why?
Because I'm already dead. I'm
No.
dead in that world. Here I'm not.
You're. Oh, heck. It makes perfect sense. Cassie. You can't leave me. I can't go on. I've lost too much. I don't want to lose you too.
You have to do what's right for you, and I have to do what's right for me.
That's not how it works when... That's not how it works when you love somebody.
She doesn't say anything. She does stop for a moment and holds you in place and looks at you. The brow of the mechanical bull mask just kind of furrows, and there's a little bit of steam out of the nostril. What do you want to do, Mark?
I want to get out of here. I want to go back. I want to see my kids and my mom and try and salvage what I can out of all that. I want to take you with me.
She wraps her arms around his torso, kind of scooping them up his back, and pulls him into her. And puts her head on his shoulder and leans in and whispers, "You'll never have me." And she lets go and begins to drift off into the crowd, catching the arms of others who are dancing in the same manner and just reveling.
Mark watches her as she goes. So this is where, unfortunately, when I switch computers, I am my Delta Green book didn't make it. So I need to. Can you look up? So my disability is obsession. Or
yes. Disorder. Yep.
A disorder is obsession. What are the consequences of that if I let Cassie go?
Well, let's find out.
Yeah, because I think there are consequences of that.
There might very well be.
Yeah.
So stand by one. Let me pull it up. There we go. Your agent becomes fixated on some person, place, event, act, or idea. Losing 2+ sand in any single roll triggers an acute episode which lasts days. In that time, any long-term action or skill use, anything taking more than a few hours is at negative 20% because your agent's mind is so often wrapped around its obsession. So in this case, make a sanity roll.
Okay. That's a failure.
72 out of 52. Okay, roll 1d5. Or 1d6, sorry.
D6.
I don't think there's a D5. 4. Okay. So that triggers an acute episode for you at the idea and the sensation of losing Cassie. So you're at negative 20%. With that, I will ask you to make an alertness roll.
Okay. So I am now under an acute episode where all my rolls are at negative 20%.
Yep.
I still am able to go on, but it's difficult for me.
It's difficult to focus. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. You want an alertness roll?
Yes, please.
Okay. That's still a success.
It is. So with a 32 out of 76, beautiful. You notice one of the waiters is kind of standing off to the side against the wall, grinning at you. And you recognize Thomas Manuel.
Oh.
Whoa.
He opens a door that you didn't realize was there and gestures, standing to the side with a sweep of his arm, like he's waiting for you.
You got no reason to want to help me. Things didn't work out so well for you. Why would you do this?
I've got my part, you've got yours.
I definitely want to try to figure out if he's telling the truth or not.
Sure, yeah, roll human.
Okay. That's still at a minus 20.
Yes, sir.
Oh.
Yep, with a 59 out of 84. Yeah. He's telling the truth. He has his part to play, you have your part to play.
Oh, great. Okay. I guess that's reassuring. I take one last look at the crowd and Cassie has probably just disappeared into it. And I turn towards the door and I go through.
We're now going to do our epilogues.
Oh, man.
Can I ask you a question first, Vince?
You may.
I have no idea what Michael was doing.
I know.
Okay.
Vince knows.
I've got an ending in mind for you. Do you want to know what it is?
Is it nice?
No.
Does he get to keep his bathrobe?
Yeah, he does.
Hell yeah.
Oh, but I succeeded on my alertness roll. Where's my... I know. I literally succeeded on every single roll tonight.
You did.
Give me something nice.
You played your part.
Cassie. The minutes tick away. The clock winds down. And then eventually the clock strikes and tolls the hour of midnight. A hush settles over the crowd. They all seem to be looking expectantly towards the throne at the other end of the ballroom. But then you suddenly realize that they're all looking back towards you. And you become aware of a presence behind you. What do you do?
She is a bit taken aback, having been caught up in the stance and realizing that everyone else has stopped and is looking at her now. She relaxes, but only momentarily before realizing that she's in a royal court. And then she straightens up, and seeing that everyone's looking beyond her, will slowly start to turn around to see what's or who is behind her.
He towers over you, clad in gold, an oversized figure with a plain white face, draped in gold and silver scalloped cloth. He hands you a bottle. Upon it, etched in a bronze plaque, is your name. Beneath it, scraped into the glass, is a single word: home. Beyond him, you see two figures wearing the masks of a dog and a snake. A man and a child. A boy. And you know who they are.
She clutches the bottle to her chest, almost embracing it like a child, like a small child. She looks up, and she's tempted to take off the mask, but realizing where she's at, she just mutters to her and this king in front of her, "Thank you." And she bows and takes a very deep curtsy.
Do you open the bottle?
She turns the plaque back to face her, looking at the etched word on the bottom. And her finger goes over the plaque once, and looking around, does she see the other three at all?
No.
Seeing that she's gone and seeing the two figures standing beside the king, she puts her fingers onto the cork and lifts, pulling it out from the opening.
Roll sanity.
I mean, does it matter?
Yeah, potentially. With a 22 out of 11, roll 1d100. You lose 65 sanity.
Got freaking lobotomized.
The bottle whispers to you. The play exists to make itself, and in doing so, it makes the world. And you, Cassie, are home. There in the palace in Yatil, in the heart of Carcosa, in the court of the Yellow King. And your tale has come to a close. Michael, you wake from a strange reverie about a masquerade. You're being dragged from your seat by an orderly. He and the other orderlies in the room strap you screaming to a gurney and shove a ball gag into your mouth to silence you. Dr. Maximo Friend enters the room carrying 2 hypodermic needles, an ice pick, and a mallet. One hypodermic needle is empty. The other is filled with the black fluid, and immediately you know you are back in Dorchester House. In fact, you may never have left. As you try to scream through this ball gag on this gurney, Dr. Friend extracts this thick red patsu from your eye socket. He then runs the ice pick up your nose at a steep angle until it touches the far end of your sinus cavity between your eyes. He taps the ice pick sharply with the mallet. Pain explodes through your brain as the ice pick pierces bone. Dr. Friend withdraws the ice pick inserts the other syringe in the same place, and injects that black fluid into the new hole in your skull. You begin seizing as your mind is filled with these horrific, otherworldly images. You don't know how long you convulse for, and it is hard to make sense of all the images that have cascaded through what's left of your mind. Finally, when the convulsions subside, the orderlies remove the ball gag from your mouth. Dr. Friend draws up a chair and says, "Go on." Immediately, you begin reciting lines from a play. Dr. Friend furiously scribbles them into a book. Then you recite, despite having never read it, The King in Yellow. Your tale comes to a close, as Michael is forever lost to the night world in the Dorchester house.
It's because I made that fucking ABBA joke, isn't it?
Oh man, poor Michael. I was hoping he would have a... Well, actually, I knew he was going to have a dog shit ending, but...
Only because, like, the only reason I chose that one for you is because of the descent that you played. It just made sense that
Yeah.
he would either end up back there or maybe never left.
Yeah, I was actually thinking it would be... Because I was thinking about the first time they saw him, and I was like, oh, he's never been there yet. So I'm like, that's probably where he's going.
Yep.
Is on the gurney in the night floors.
Yeah.
I felt like it was very fitting for the way you were playing Michael towards the end there, just in the bathrobe,
totally
completely surrendered to his fate. You know.
Yeah, the only thing I would even like remotely posit as a change is like the struggling and the screaming. I think at some point he would just be completely limp, like dead fish limp. You know what I mean? And just like muttering the stuff when they injected that goop into his brain. Oh, poor Michael. But thank you, Vince.
You bet.
That was right.
Geneva, you're alone in this abandoned ballroom. A trail of tarot cards leading off into the dark. What do you do?
Oh, geez. Oh, it's an active. Okay. She's just following the tarot cards. She just assumes that they're going to lead her wherever she needs to be.
They do. They lead to a small, uneven door embedded in a wall. Through this door, you find an opening into a filthy and dark underground space. Some kind of basement. Wooden steps leading up. A single, barely shining dim light bulb hanging from the ceiling. You turn back and the door that you entered through is gone. Just bare stone walls, a dirt floor, and those wooden stairs leading up. What do you do?
She goes up the stairs.
You open the door, this trap door set into the ceiling, and you climb up. And you find yourself in a bookstore. Rows upon rows of leaning shelves filled with books. The various paths cut through the leather and paper, meandering and winding. It's daylight. You can make it out through the front window. Obviously, books have been painted at one point on the inside of it, but now there's just a dim outline of the word. The door is open, and through it you can hear the sounds of a city. You step out into New York City, in Manhattan, and roll 1d20.
1.
You regain 1 sanity as you rejoin the world, having escaped Carcosa.
My God.
And that is
I feel like, just really quick, as soon as she's out there, she looks over her shoulder, kind of just assumed that Michael was right behind her, as he always is. And when she sees that he's not there, there's like this genuine moment of like guilt and shame. And that's where it ends for her, probably.
It is indeed. And finally, Mark, you enter through that doorway, and it shuts behind you. And you find yourself in a long hallway, carpeted, doors on either side. And you remember this. You remember the night floors. How could you ever forget that you transited all those years ago? You begin walking its hallways, trying to find your way to the smoking lounge, trying to find your way back. In this long, bland hallway, you look to your left and you see that the wall has faded into transparency. Through it, you can see 4 individuals frantically looking for a way through, a way out. You see Jenny. You see Ira. You see Cassie, and you see yourself. 20 years younger. Freshly on the trail of Abigail Wright. Roll sanity for me, please.
Yikes, okay. Do I have a minus 20 to sanity as well?
No.
No, okay. Oh, that's still 41 out of 52.
You lose 1 sanity. Remembering everything you've learned about how Carcosa operates, how the night floors operated, you begin trying to find your way out. And eventually, who knows how long, you find your way to the smoking lounge. You climb those steps down and you open the door, and you find yourself stepping out into a parking garage in Manhattan, in New York City, where the McAllister building once stood all those years ago. Roll 1d20 for me, please.
Oh, and that 20, baby.
You regain 20 sanity.
Oh, jeez.
Nice.
I am seeing life with a clarity I have not ever seen before.
And so, we come to our end of sorts. A play that contains multitudes. All who died, all who live, all who yet shall. Upon this stage with us, forever. Curtain. And that, folks, is where we will end this campaign. Thank you for listening to Delta Green, Impossible Landscapes, part of the Black Project Gaming podcast. If you like what you heard, please consider leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts, and be sure to visit blackprojectgaming.com for previous Delta Green episodes. You can also listen to our ongoing Waterdeep Dragon Heist and Barovia, California campaigns. If you'd like updates on all future releases, please follow us on Twitter or Facebook. Until next time, I'm Vince, your host and handler, with Brett as DEA Special Agent Michael Witwer, also known as Agent Vega, Cami as FBI Special Agent Geneva Brown, also known as Agent Venus, Doug as FBI Special Agent Mark Hansom, also known as Agent Meshach, and Jack as FBI Special Agent Cassandra Troy, also known as Agent Madison. Thank you again, and remember, we'll be seeing you.